I do want to pause really quickly because I do want to give a little bit of promo. So for those of you guys that don't know, this is Scruty Zen, who is a what 4.1k peak, 4k peak,
4.2.
4.2.
But
Sorry, I didn't mean to undersell you, but he's got it.
no, sure. But I hang around like 4.1 most of the time.
Right. So he has an excellent advanced Zenyatta guide. Like I said, it goes really in depth, for like 2 hours long total. I'm gonna link that in the stream chat. And he is helping me out review a gold Zen VOD. And check out his YouTube channel. Do you have Twitch as well? I think yeah, of course. Okay, so we've got it going pulled up. Just let me know when you want to pause. I mean, I'll basically just gonna kind of let you talk and just provide feedback from chat or anything that I see. But I'm not gonna let you do your thing. This is 2100, so I'll go ahead and write that in the top right. 2100 Zen. You can tell I use a mouse to write. And this is Hollywood. So, all right, here we go.
I see. Do we know anything about the Zen player? Like, is he a Zen main? Is he just flexing to Zen?
We do not. Now, the assumption that I make basically for the most of the people that send in VODs to me is that I only request VODs of people that are trying to improve at the hero, which rarely is people flexing. Usually if people are flexing, they're just as a one and done kind of a thing. So I assume that this hero person either plays a lot of Zen or is planning on playing a lot of Zen. So that's the assumption I'm going to go ahead and make.
Wow, I like how you meet. Like,
just let me know if you want me to pause it.
I mean, for now, let's just roll it. The first thing is, anytime the game is about to begin, you have to like assess your composition because it's gonna dictate your playstyle.
Absolutely. Gee, that sounds familiar, chat, right?
And this is kind of a weird comp. Junkrat, Sombra as DPS players. I mean, we have familiar tanks in Winston D.Va, so at least this is like something we can all relate to. So in this, you don't really want to pay too much attention to Sombra. She can be fine on her own. You want to mostly just focus on Winston and D.Va. And I guess you also know that already. I'm just going to remind it. Like Winston, D.Va, both very nice targets for the Harmony Orb, even like before the fight begins. Because they have armor. And once the fight starts, armor absorbs 50% of the incoming damage. And orb, the healing that they receive is always the same. It's always maximum. So in order to maximize the healing output, you should have the orb on your armored targets before the fight even begins.
Right. So you're saying that the orb almost acts as if it does twice as much healing because the armor acts as twice as much health.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind of in a quasi-mathematical sense. So
yeah.
All right.
But you're just going to get more value than just, for instance, healing 200 HP Junkrat.
And if we look at Junkrat and Sombra, neither of which we can anticipate going in too deep. At least Sombra she'll have that escape route. Junkrat is probably going to be staying more towards the back. So is there any like mindset or kind of like checklist you go through in deciding whether Winston or D.Va get the orb?
I prefer always Winston because he's the first one to jump. Like D.Va always follows.
Okay.
With the Matrix. So Winston's going to be always first into the fight. Like sure, he has bubble, but probably even during the leap, he's going to already take some damage.
Right. Okay.
And that's like D.Va can, when she flies in, she can already Matrix when she's flying in. So she can mitigate the damage. But Winston kind of can't. He has to wait till he lands to put his bubble. So, and during the jumping time, he's just going to probably take some damage. So I always just go with Winston in this setup.
Okay. Perfect. All right. And please talk to me as if I'm gold, because this person, I'm sure, being gold will appreciate the extra info.
Okay. Soldier. All right. So if we can pause for a quick second, because the first thing is like assessing your composition and who you're gonna play with, kinda. And you know, since Monkey D.Va are probably gonna be just diving into the like behind enemy lines or like straight into them, you're gonna be kind of left alone, let's say. So and Sombra's just gonna be running around with the translocator and invisibility. So. But Junkrat should be your buddy here. Like he can provide really good support for you when, like, let's say they have a tracer. We don't know if they do. I think they do actually. We saw a tracer, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, like Junkrat, if you discord a tracer, and Junkrat just throws the mine or just bombs randomly, just spams his mouse 1. Then she's just gonna one-shot tracer because that's 120 damage plus 30% discord. that's going to be an instant kill for the Junkrat if you discord the Tracer. Right. So he's going to provide you the protection. Like if somebody comes after you and you're going to ask your Junkrat for help, or he's just going to be in the near vicinity, he can easily help you dispatch flankers.
Right. So you're saying that concussive mine, assuming that it's placed well, or even the grenades, a discord target turns that into 156 damage. So that is a one shot. I mean, the best way to deal with a Tracer is just to instantly kill her if that's a possibility. So okay. So priority on discord.
Like, but with Junkrat, it's same like with Pharah rockets and Soldier Helix rocket. It's also 120 damage, and it's so good because you just deny the Tracer the possibility of even using the recall. Like she doesn't even have room to recall because she's just instantly dead.
Okay, so there's not even an opportunity to heal up anything if they just die.
So yeah, but bottom line here, like Junkrat is you don't want to be alone as Zen. You always want to find yourself like a buddy you're gonna stick with or stick to throughout the game. So anytime you're like in trouble, you can quickly just like group together and at least be in a 2v1 situation. It's always better to be in a 2v1 as opposed to be in a 1v1.
Okay. I have a couple questions, but I'm going to wait and let this roll out and see how he plays it out first. And then,
Hey, I like the awareness, like looking right side. This is good.
I always say the best way to beat a Tracer is just know that she's there. The knowledge that she's there is a good first step.
Absolutely.
What do you think about his positioning? Like, let's say if we were to come back, like, what do you think about his positioning right here?
I mean, it's obviously not ideal. I see what he's trying to do. Like he's trying to close the gap to D.Va and kind of play behind the D.Va, but then he kind of moves back to right-hand side again. And you, as Zen, you just never want to be in the wide open area like this.
So it's not so much that he's far forward; it's that he's in an open area.
Yes.
Okay. And so where would you say would be a more optimal position? Like if we can see more of the battlefield, I guess here. Where would you say?
I mean, yeah, the car is pretty solid. You can just use the car.
Okay.
And just play around it. You can use the wall that forms the arch. Yeah, and just play around the wall. Just you can orb pretty much anybody you can orb right now. You can orb D.Va. Which is because they just out of line of sight for now. But and you can still kind of just peek and shoot towards the point without, so you don't really lose line of sight, but you can provide the same input towards the fight.
Right, and
you can still have the same impact
as well during that off time. Okay, perfect.
Okay, I see something. I see something that I want to talk about.
Okay, what do you see?
The jumping.
Okay.
Like during the last 5 or 6 seconds, there's just constant jumping.
Okay. So. And
jump. There are no needs for these jumps. The thing with jumps, and because, like, I also want to, like, before we kind of fully dive into the review, I want to preface this by saying that the way I'm gonna kind of talk about it, like, I realize that the player is low gold.
Yes.
But I don't want to kind of give tips to overcome gold problems. I want to give tips that's going to be universal. Like when the person is going to, for instance, climb to platinum and then diamond, these rules and these tips are going to still be applicable. They're just universal.
Jane always says, play like the SR that you want to be.
Yeah, I always say that just you want to play the game the right way. And if you play the game the right way, good things will happen sooner or later. And so with jumping, I mean, the thing with jumping is there's just no need for it. It doesn't enhance your aiming. And the one downside, like, and at this level, at platinum level, even at diamond, it's still not really, you won't get the feedback from the enemy team because when you jump, you make yourself very easy to hit. It's a very predictable movement pattern. You're locked in the animation of jumping, so you can't really move like left or right. So for the window of the jump, you're just very vulnerable because good players will know exactly how to aim towards you. So they're going to get a hit. And it's especially now with the sniper meta, like jumping is the worst thing you can do against the Widow. This is just making her job extremely easy if you jump. It's just such an easy shot.
Right.
So just getting rid of jumping, AD spam is way more useful and just beneficial than just jumping.
Yeah, so two questions before we get too much further. Because I had this question last week, and they were asking, I have this habit of jumping, how do I break it? And then adding on to that, kind of tailing onto that, is how do I practice AD spamming? Like, a lot of people, is there a pattern to it that you want to follow? Like, what is the order? Do I need to be thinking about it much? What would you say to somebody who would ask that question?
Okay, so as for that, I'm going to answer the second one first. For the AD spam, when you shoot, Zenyatta has a very, his rate of fire is 2.5 orbs per second. If you hold the left click, I don't hold the left click, I click every shot.
Excellent advice.
with that, yes, I think this gives you more control over your aim. Because you just shoot when you want to shoot, not when it's dictated by just the flow of the rate of fire. But as for the AD spam, what I like to do is when I hit A, and for instance I move in the left, and when I stop and when I'm about to press D, then I'm gonna shoot because I'm just stabilized then.
So at this point you are shooting once you reach the absolute, like your A shoot.
Yeah, because then I'm still, it's going to be easier for me to kind of aim to acquire the target as opposed to shooting while I'm mid-motion.
Right. So the optimal situation is that you're expecting the targets to be shooting at you while you're in motion, whether it's to your right or to your left, but you're saving your shots until your motion has basically slowed to a complete stop.
I mean, if you make a pretty big AD kind of spam, you can squeeze one more shot in between when you're kind of in the middle between the two. But I think it gives you like a better control over your aim if you just shoot the moment you stop moving for a split second because you're just going the other way.
Okay, I didn't know that. I never thought about that. That's excellent advice.
I think it gives you just more consistency, and because sometimes when you're in these AD battles, for instance, you just 1v1 another Zenyatta, for instance, theoretically, and both of you just keep on missing like shot after shot after shot, and it's because, and if you just stabilize for a second, it's just gonna give you this a little bit of an edge. I think at least I think it works for me.
Right. Well, I mean, you're much higher SR, so I'm sure that advice is good. Okay, perfect. I think that's about it. So, like, I guess directly, how would you go about practicing this? Would you just go into FFA and just grind FFA? Would you try and make this something that you'd consciously think about during comp? Or do you think that it's something that it shouldn't be put as much stock into in an actual competitive game?
You mean practicing AD spam and like shooting patterns?
Practicing that and just not jumping.
Oh yeah, because not jumping, that was the other question. I think with the not jumping thing, it's just, to get rid of it, you just have to keep on reminding yourself about it. Because I was also in the habit of jumping back in the day. I was jumping a lot, and then I realized I just get myself killed because I jump too much. And just consciously reminding yourself that I shouldn't jump, and instead just AD spam.
For those in chat, this is what I use to remind myself: post-it notes. I mean, I literally stick these under my monitor with things that I want to remember.
Yeah, so. I mean, it's a valid thing to do. I don't do that because I just believe that I'm just gonna remember.
Right.
But to give an example, like I also used to have a problem sometimes with my harmony orb. Like I wouldn't harmony people for a long time because I would just get too focused on shooting and killing people.
Right.
And it was like 10 seconds without a harmony orb, which is terrible.
We had a review last week of a Zenyatta who didn't have harmony up for I think 24 seconds in a row during a team fight.
Yeah. But I'm combating this by just reminding myself consciously that harmony, and it really works. I started harmonying people way more often. So I just think if you need to stick a little card on your monitor that reads no jumps, then fine, do it.
Right.
If it's gonna help. But I just that's what I think. The only way to break a habit is just consciously fight it.
Yes.
And then create, and instead of this bad habit, introduce a better habit instead, which is in this case AD.
Right. That is always something I believe to be a signature of a good coach, is to identify whether it's one, two, but a few like primary focuses that you really have to focus on, and like thinking about nothing but that in every single training environment until it becomes second nature. All right, let's keep going.
Okay.
And again, about positioning here, what do you think? Like, obviously it's not optimal, but like, what could we do better here as this Zenyatta with what's going on?
Okay, so it's a full-on brawl on the point.
Yes.
And I dislike the closeness to the fight. You don't want to be this close. So I like the rotation towards the bubble because at least it's some protection, even if temporary.
Right.
But I think in this particular case, what would be a good idea, I think, for me, is I would just kind of back off and go into the security room, okay. Like as on the right side, like as the fight is
here or this one here.
Yeah, like to be honest, either of them, because what I mean is our team is pushing really hard, and the defenders are forced to just defend the point. So they can't really spend resources to send to fight the Zenyatta because they're just so focused on the point.
Right.
And still being in one of these doorways, this is a pretty safe spot. Like I would actually maybe even prefer the further one because you have a health pack nearby.
Yes.
You don't really have any health packs on the immediate right side.
I believe it's a mini, I think.
Yes, it is a mini, but well, it's something, right?
Yeah, yes, but still that 75 HP is huge.
But also, but if I'm going there, I'm gonna have to keep mental track of anybody dying in the fight from the enemy team. Because if they die, let's say Tracer dies first, chances are she's gonna be going through this little room, this hallway, when I'm gonna be, and she's just gonna attack me from behind. So I have to be conscious of that when I take a position like this, that somebody may come in like 15 seconds.
Right. One question, because we see a little bit of the confusion here, I think. Let's watch. I'm gonna watch his right hand of his screen and watch his Discord. So he's gonna Discord the Tracer. It looks like she recalls. And
it didn't really apply.
It didn't apply. Okay.
Like he throws the Discord, but the Tracers broke line of sight the moment.
Right. So let's just look at this right here. So obviously Mercy is rezzing here, so that point's moot. Mercy's stationary. Mercy gets killed. Fine. But let's say Mercy's hiding around here, and you see a clump of red. Is there any criteria that you use to kind of like negotiate with either yourself or with your team? Who do I Discord here?
Okay. So, all right. So I don't wait because I don't hear I need to increase the volume of the video because I didn't hear the call out. Were there any callouts?
That's a good question, actually. Let's come back a little bit. Let's listen.
Tracer's behind.
Okay.
Mercy's discorded.
Okay.
So it calls out a Discord of the Mercy as she's rezzing, and I mean, Mercy obviously was, making a little bit of a bot decision there, deciding to res in the middle of a team.
Yeah, that was a bad decision.
But going like if we just like gave real general terms, like in terms of like Discord priority, is there any checklist you go down through? And I'm sure this is something I'm sure you touch on, and I do remember you touching on in your videos to an extent. But like just like too long didn't read Discord. What would you say?
Yeah. Okay. So just applying Discord to this meta. I think it's always the best idea to have a Discord on the enemy lane. Always. Like, obviously, if like somebody's attacking you.
And I love Discord on enemy Reinhardt. I love Discord on enemy Reinhardt.
Okay. I know. I'm sorry if you are Discorded.
It's like you automatically lose that Ryan for Ryan. Just like there's nothing you can do.
Because this is exactly it. Because it does two things. It kind of works in two ways. And the first one is if the enemy lane is discorded, that means that he cannot really be aggressive anymore. He is forced to play passive. If he's gonna move forward and try to be aggressive like he normally would, he's just gonna get punished because it's 30% more damage from every source. And that's a lot. You can't really just ignore that. You have to be mindful of that. So if you're just gonna go ham, you're gonna get punished. So that automatically creates space for your team, because the enemy team has to play passive because their lane has to play passive.
Okay.
This is the first thing, and the second is pretty much it. What I said before, like if he's gonna still continue to be aggressive, he's just gonna be punished really fast.
Okay.
And especially again, with hero like Winston and Diva, you always want to Discord a target that Winston is shooting, because his damage is pretty low, right? It's 60. Per second. That's not really impressive. But if you enhance it with Discord, it makes a difference.
Yes.
And I play a lot of Winston as well, and for me, I cannot count the situations in which I was fighting somebody and I left this person with legit 1 HP and I died.
Oof.
And if only this person was discorded. So I always try to help my Winston with the discords. So, here, I mean, the Zen doesn't really call any discords apart from the Mercy, but, he kind of calls the discord as the Mercy dies.
Right.
So
at that point, it's kind of already too late. Like, the opportunity to actually capitalize on that had already kind of passed. So priority, you're saying main tank, if you can assist whatever your tanks are attacking, whether that's the enemy Reinhardt, whether if you're running dive, whatever they're diving onto.
But same with Winston. If they have a Winston, I think always discording the main tank in the enemy team is always worth it.
What about, I assume the answer to this is pretty obvious, but Tracer, Genji, they're diving you. Do you prioritize discording anybody who's harassing you over somebody that your team is
yes.
up on?
Yes, in vast majority of the cases, yes, you need to stay alive, and part of staying alive is discording the enemy and killing them. But there are instances in which you shouldn't. Like, for instance, let's say your Winston is zapping the enemy Mercy somewhere, and the Mercy is discorded, and at the very same time, Tracer comes after you.
Right.
But you at this have a Mercy with you, and she's helping you.
Right.
So Tracer is not really that big of a threat to you, and Winston can really benefit from that discord right now.
So if you swapped, if in a theoretical situation you made the incorrect decision there and removed discord and discorded the Tracer, then one, the Tracer runs away, you don't get the elimination on the Tracer. Your Winston dies because his target that he was going after didn't die. And so you're already at a disadvantage just because you were trying to win that duel when you didn't need it.
Yeah,
so
I mean, sometimes that's, but mostly you just want to defend yourself.
Okay.
And that means discarding whoever's attacking you.
Right. Okay.
Mercy's discorded.
It's like the soldiers.
So this is kind of what I like to call like the suction mindset. It happens a lot with Annas and Zenyatas. And you can kind of see him just walking on a point here. Is there any way to kind of break that habit? Just kind of get a mental lock of where you want to be and stay there? Like in terms of...
I mean, in this case, the fight is pretty much over.
Okay.
Or is it, actually? I never know. But that's tricky at this level. You never know if the...
Yep. The unexpected happens. The unexpected happens.
Yeah.
People use ultimates very aggressively. So
but this is actually, there you go. The Zen pushed too far. He got 2 nice kills, sure, on both supports, but it doesn't mean the fight is over.
Right.
And maybe, he was closer, so obviously the shots were easier to make, but at what cost? Because right now you're in the thick of it, and there's no escaping.
Right. Something else I like to point out too is when you get this close is you lose vision off of your orbs. So if we look for the last couple seconds, and there's no harmony up right now. There's no harmony up
Discord
right now.
is just very briefly on the Mercy.
Right, and there's still no harmony up. There's still no harmony up. Still no harmony up. And we're gonna look in the bottom right of our screen.
And he's gonna die. No harmony.
And we're gonna see Winston with at critical HP for a long.
Yeah. In the meantime, Diva died as well.
Right. So, like, moving that aggressively, there are times in which you would say it's fine, but you'd have to be very careful that you're not doing it at the expense of your own life and the life of your teammates, because that could have been 300, 350 healing and a very alive Winston with a discorded Zarya. So, okay, we'll move on.
But this is exactly the thing that I always also remind Zenyatta players is you need to play your role, and you're not a DPS.
Right.
Even though Zen has crazy DPS output, your job is to support. And you support through harmony and discords. And the damage. But the damage comes secondary. First, it's your orbs. This is your bread and butter. If you don't do that, you don't really perform your role. And if you don't perform your role, why do you play Zen?
Right, exactly. Okay.
Like, this is, again, no orbs. Like, sure, the soldiers discorded.
Right.
But all this time, throughout all this time, nobody got me.
Right. So you're saying, like, just it doesn't always have to be on an optimal target if the optimal target doesn't provide itself, but just as long as you have harmony on something. Like,
yes,
if you don't always have, you know, the Winston, the Reinhardt, you know, your Genji, Dave, like you don't have an opportunity to get off a good harmony. But as long as it's on somebody who can take advantage of that.
I mean, it has no cooldown.
Right.
You can just use it all the time.
Right. Okay.
And it doesn't really, the casting time is negligible, so it's not like you're wasting time by throwing harmony. It should be used. I mean, I regret very much that there's no stats like harmony and Discord uptime.
Yes, that would be interesting.
That would be very interesting, and I think that would be a very good measure that Zen can, you know, Zenyatta players can look at and then evaluate their performance.
Right.
Because that would be very telling. What's your orb uptime?
Right. And you could look at that and go, whoa, I've got a super low. Like, I think, what was I read somewhere the other day, where stats are meaningless unless you have a really bad stat. It's like,
yeah,
if you have good stats, it's meaningless.
Pretty much.
But if you have a ton of deaths, or your damage is absurdly low, or your healing is absurdly low, usually that means that there's a problem there. And so if you were to have a stat like that, say Harmony Orb Uptime, 46%, that would be problematic.
All right.
Okay,
so I wanna. So for now.
Yeah, this is interesting going on right here. We got some juicy stuff going on right here.
All right, but can you pause
yes.
one? Okay,
yes.
So before we go into the Graviton, what I see so far is the Zen is like, I want to win this game by myself. Like, I'm gonna kill everybody.
Yes.
And you know, the guy has a good aim, like fairly good for this level at least.
I would agree with that.
And I know it's very easy to get kind of excited about it and just try to really, you know, frag out, kill like 3-4 people, win a fight.
Me and quick play.
But that's yeah, but you know, this is not your job.
Right.
You know, you can still do it actually and provide all the utility that Zen provides.
So like if we were to like draw a percentage, you could do 100% DPS, you know, and do like 50%, you know, of your Discord, 50% of your healing, or you can do, you know, 90% DPS, and then do 100% orb. Because as you were saying, if you focus on your Discord and harmony, it doesn't harm your damage output very much.
Yeah, it doesn't at all, pretty much.
Especially,
like all it takes is just you have to sometimes look away for a split second to orb somebody, and that's it. You can resume shooting.
And the more you play Zen, the more you realize that sometimes those orb, even the animation times, can be almost instantaneous.
Yeah, like you can cancel the harmony in Discord if you weave it in between your shot.
Right. Okay.
Like the cast time is just non-existent pretty much.
Basically, yeah. Okay. And then this is an interesting one. So they're up 2, or they're up 1 rather, but Mercy's going for a res here. So this is a trying discussion here, or trying problem, because he's got an opportunity to trance, right? They've committed sound barrier to this. Mercy's gonna res this though. What would you do?
Mercy is sound barrier. You can't kill her right now.
Okay. So what would you do at this point right now?
I would rush to my team with trance.
Okay.
Because right now it's too late. I mean, nobody really died though. Or no, I think Junkrat died.
Right, but it was close enough to where somebody could have died in that window of opportunity.
Yes.
So you always look at opportunities like, yes, this didn't happen, but that normally will happen, especially when you start to climb. That sort of mistake will get punished.
Yes, I mean, what I always say is like anytime you go up like a tier or even like 200 SR, sometimes the players get stuck somewhere because the adjustment required is pretty big. Because any mistake suddenly gets punished. The game is faster, mistakes gets punished faster and more often.
Right.
And this is just how it is, and it's just always like that. It just keeps on growing and growing. But what I want to say about this trance, beside the point that it was too late, look where he's now when the trance is ended. The soldiers in front of him and pretty high charge Zarya with Mercy on her ass is in his face. So he's gonna die. Like, I'm betting my money. I know.
I don't know. This is gold. Be cautious.
I know, but I think he'll die now.
So like, you know, he was kind of out of position with this trance initiated, so he kind of had to rush over and only got the tail end of the value here. So let's say right now, where would you be moving to right now, Zenyatta?
Behind the bin, probably.
This way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, because the fight, you always have to look at how the fight developed. And at this point, your mercy is behind the point. The whole enemy team is kind of on your side, on the attacker's side, and you're on the defender side. And you can't just go on the attacker's side all of a sudden.
Right.
The whole enemy team is there. You have to stay, just the basic understanding that, okay, there's the enemy team, here's my team, and you always want to stay with your team.
And that's one of the tough things about lower tiers is that a lot of times lower tier players and even mid tier players will learn or read about or watch a video about rules. And then they learn that there are exceptions to the rules. Like we can talk up and down about how this is over here is a great position with Zen. We did, right? But that changes because the team's over here. So you have to be able to adapt. And so playing over here will give him more cover. But unfortunately, it looks like he's trying to make his way back this direction.
Okay.
Now he got lucky. Okay. Was that an enemy?
Oh wow! Yeah. Winston bubble.
Yeah. And
Sombra EMP. Okay.
Yeah.
But that's the point. It won't happen. Another game, maybe slightly better players, and you're dead. 100%.
Again, talking about like the suction I was talking about earlier. We're kind of
throwing yourself into danger. Like, no. This is, but also like coming back to the trans real quick. Like anytime you have a trans in those heated situations, you want to use the last second or the last 2 seconds to reposition yourself to safety.
Okay.
So anytime you kind of have to go with trans into the enemy, use and top everybody off. Use the last second to just back off. Okay. It's still 10-meter range. So as you're backing off, the people that you're interested in will still be affected by the Transcendence.
Right.
And the additional second or two and the mobility boost can really help you reposition to a safe position.
Right. Something I like to say when I'm coaching Zens when it comes to trance usage is a lot of them go, well, what if I'm healing somebody and they need the healing up to the last second? Especially if you're healing a 600 HP tank, as they lose that healing for that last second so that you can reposition, it's much less likely that they're going to die in that 1 second, and much more likely that if you stay there, that your 200 HP, no escape cooldown, slow mobile robot bottom is going to get torched, right?
Yeah.
So it's like what's more likely, that the tank's going to die in that 1 second, or that you're going to die immediately afterwards?
I mean, exactly. And once you die, there's no harmony and no discord anymore.
Right. So you're one of the more valuable people on the battlefield. So okay.
Right.
Kind of get sucked in a little bit here. I think that's especially bad with that Winston bubble that was there too. Could have utilized.
Yeah, I mean the Winston bubble was a bailout. Okay. Oh man, I don't like this at all.
Okay, so what?
Like I understand.
What about this, right? Like I see he's trying to focus down a target, but there is a immediate threat.
Yes, there is. And like at this point, still Rain is half right now. Okay, only now he drops because he's discarded. And everybody's shooting at him, and that's the point. Everybody's shooting at him. He's gonna die, okay? But there's a Tracer.
Right.
The Zen was 70 HP for a while when Tracer started shooting.
Yes. So we were prioritizing shooting a discorded Ryan that was already pretty high in health.
And he was hacked. Like, he can't shield himself.
Right. So he's going to die either way, and our team didn't need our help as much, especially with something that was threatening us. I mean, Tracer kind of bots out a little bit here, but we're so...
Yeah, a bit, but 10 HP, that's still... Yeah, that's very lucky.
I think we dropped down to 4. Oh, wow, okay.
The Mercy came with the healing in the last possible second, but again, slightly better Tracer. All it needed was a melee.
Right.
And the Zenyatta be dead. Nice shooting. But yeah, throwing yourself into the fight, no. As Zen, nice. Optimally, you just want to stay behind and just minimize the threats, Bottom line is you want to have the same angles that you can, shoot and orb people, but you don't want to be on the front line, so there's an immediate danger to you.
Okay. Now, something I have a lot of questions about, I guess we could see, not a lot of it here, but in terms of, I always say that if there is a target to shoot, usually you do not charge a right click. Would you say that's true, or would you say that there are more opportunities to charge right clicks than just like let's say we've got a Ryan, like a red Ryan shield here, right? Kind of at that choke. Would you take the opportunity to charge a right click in hopes that he drops his shield and then you get
That depends.
Or would you just continue to spam primary fire and just build up a little bit more extra charge?
That depends how much HP he has. If he is very low, I mean very low. Let's say he has 150 HP approximately, maybe 200, and he's just kind of in a corner, nothing to do. I'm just gonna start charging and head right in his face. Anticipating the charge, obviously. So I'm always ready to dodge if he charges. But anytime you see like a rain corner like this, you can just rush him with the charge shot. Just go over the shield and shoot him.
Okay.
Yeah, but in general, when you have like somebody's coming at you, there's no time to charge shot.
Right.
You need like 2.5 seconds to charge 4 orbs, and 2 seconds to get 3. That's too long. And plus, when you're charging, you can't really use any orbs. And sometimes even like, let's say the soldier just comes out of nowhere and you start charging instead of like discording him first. This is it's too risky, because if you miss the charge shot, it's like just a one-shot opportunity that if you miss, you're probably going to die because you missed.
Okay, so I'm going to be a little selfish here because I have a question for my own personal Zenyatta gameplay that ties into this, okay? So like you said, if you miss, you're going to be in trouble. The delay after the release of the alternate fire kills me. And I have, especially since they changed the fire rate with it a couple months back, is it worth, like, probably, I'm just going to give, in most circumstances, is it worth ever charging a right click against a tracer, even if you have a corner? Would you say?
Yes, when she recalls.
When she recalls. Okay.
Yes.
Good to know.
Because when she recalls, you have this, at least like, let's say 1 second, maybe a bit more. You can charge 2 orbs. So you have 2 free shots instead of 1.
Right.
And if she's going to recall, that probably means she's going to be back to full HP again.
Right. So
and you can't one-shot her. Yes. And maybe these 2 orbs will just be enough to one-shot her. So it's always, I think it's just worth the effort. Like, there's no downsides, pretty much.
Okay. Thank you. Perfect. Looking at our Harmony orb placement again. He adjusts it there, but it was on Mercy for a while.
Okay, Winston's jumping in. That's an immediate orb. Because now he's... Yeah. Oh, now he's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he still probably would have died. But that doesn't matter. You always want to give your people the edge.
Oh boy, I love when that happens.
We don't see that often, though.
No, you don't. Alrighty.
Pharaoh died to mayhem. Wow.
Excellent. That happened in a 3400 game yesterday for me. So it happens in all tiers. I think she.
Okay. Okay. Just a very quick note. And this is just something for the future, for the higher tiers.
Yep.
Sitting on top of the payload like this is just asking for a headshot from somebody.
Absolutely.
I know it's nice that the payload is being pushed and you feel triumphant that, we're pushing the payload, but you need that cover, man. You can just as well be behind the car. Right. And push the very same payload, very same speed, and be safe.
This is a little bit of an in-depth question, so answer this as briefly as possible. But I do know that there are several maps and points where you do not want Zen pushing payload. You want him to try and get high ground, or there's a more advantageous position for him to be, and you usually stick your diva or whatever on payload. Are there any that come to the top of, like, just right off the top of your mind?
I think Gibraltar, first point. When you're attacking, you don't really want to Zen be in the underpass.
Right.
He can really benefit from the high ground.
Okay, going around left side up the stairs.
But yes. But this is, in the end, it also depends. What's your old status, situation? What's the old economy in the game? Like, if you sit on a Transcendence and your team is fighting and it's going okay, it's okay for Zen to push the payload. You don't need to build your ultimate.
Right.
But sometimes when, you, for instance, you just got killed once at the beginning and you struggle to build your ultimate fast enough, you don't want to really push the payload as Zen then, because you need that ultimate.
Okay, so you want to be pushing forward with cover and hopefully with a tank.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay. I think a lot
Oh,
of...
the orb on Diva. Come on.
Yeah, and we're keeping it on Sombra.
Like, Sombra is fine. Sombra is just gonna be okay. She's gonna translocate.
And
Diva's demeched now.
yeah.
And that was like, I don't know, 5-6 seconds. That would be, what, almost 200 HP for Diva.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she wouldn't get demeched, I'm pretty sure.
I would agree with that.
And, so...
Oof, that's
okay,
good
nice
AMP.
EMP.
That's a nice
Yep.
EMP. Little much of ults, but I guess it works. And even in this position, and even this positioning here, would you agree that like just to hop off the payload and assist your Winston with whatever you?
Yeah, sure, no doubt. Okay. Like, the fight is already won. Winston's in trouble against somebody, but it's like a 6v1. I mean, Winston's just in a 1v1 right now, but there's no threat to the team. But you may lose your Winston because he's just alone right now.
Right.
So it's perfectly fine to just leave and help him.
Right.
But I wanna, because what's happening right now. We have trends. We know that Zarya has graph because she got hacked. So we know she have graph because we saw it.
Yes.
And this is because this is a very important part of the game that many people just don't really get involved with, and it's the ultimate game.
Okay.
And the higher you go, what people are gonna talk about in the voice chat is mostly like what we're gonna use, what they have, how we're gonna counter it. And this is really, really important. And this is also, has to do with ultimate tracking. I mean, here, whether they have ultimates or no. Mm-hmm. But normally you would like to track an ultimate or two at least.
Okay.
And what I always say is, I know ultimate tracking can be very difficult because you just have to conjure the enemy ult charge just out of nothing. Yes. You just have to predict it. Zen is well equipped for that because you see who gets damaged. And if you have, and usually he's in the back, so he sees who's shooting. So if you see that the enemy soldier is getting a tons of damage on your Winston, for instance, that probably means that his ultimate is going to be up pretty soon. But you want to concern yourself as a beginner ult tracker. You just want to concern yourself with the enemy ultimates that your ultimate counters. Okay. So in this case, that would be the Graviton Surge.
Right.
So you just want to keep an eye on Zarya, whether she used Grav, when she used it, and if she hasn't used it for 2 minutes, that means she probably has Graviton. For me, 2 minutes is the best mark. Even if you struggle at realizing what may be the ult charge, always the 2-minute mark. If they haven't ulted for 2 minutes, they're gonna have the ultimate, probably.
So I have a question in this. So if you're waiting in Zarya, waiting to counter that. Your Winston Diva dive in, and they're coming back, and they're both critical. Maybe no picks on either side, so we're still in a 6v6. Do you trance then?
Okay, so because it's always situational.
Yes.
Because if we fighting for point B right now, and we're near the jail, right? Mm-hmm. And I see that, it's a brawl. Some of them are critical, our people are critical, and I see my Winston Diva both critical right now. Mm-hmm. But I see if I trance now and we win the fight, we're gonna cap the point. Mm-hmm. And capping the point is always worth it. If you wanna commit an ultimate to that, go for it because it's worth it. You're gonna have more than enough time to build the next one, during the next point.
Right. But even if you lose the next fight because they grab, you've pushed it a period of time farther forward.
Yeah, exactly. And anytime, so in a situation like this, let's say you help your tanks, you bail them out, you bring them to full HP, but you know that Zarya has grab, right? Mm-hmm. So being a smart player, you know the grab is coming. So you discord the Zarya in advance before the trance. You pop the Transcendence. Zarya is discarded during that time, and you just tell your team repeatedly to just attack the Zarya. She needs to die because she has grab.
Right, and that's one important thing I've learned the more I play Zen is if you're going to use trance aggressively like that, then you need to win that fight. If you're not going to be able to counter that ult, then you need to win that fight, because if you trance without discording, without focusing down a target, without being able to kill anything, then the second you pop out of trance, they grab, and they win the fight. So not only did you trade ult for ult, you lost the fight anyway.
Yeah, which is not a good trade.
Right. What does it say? Always avoid using support ults for healing. Use it to win the fight.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
So, but it's the same with Genji. Like if you discard a Genji and you know he has the blade, you discard him, you go in with the trance to just keep your people alive.
Yep.
But he has to die during those 6 seconds.
Right.
So, and you really have to tell it to your team because they may not realize this.
Right.
They may be oblivious to that fact and they be like happily just shooting at rain shield or whatever.
Right. So you got to kind of if you're going to be tracking the ultimates, you kind of have a responsibility to make sure that ultimate is no longer a threat, whether it's countering it or eliminating the target that has that ultimate.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That was a nice harmony. They saved his Winston.
Yeah, and it allowed the Winston to get out, get topped off and then go in again.
What do you think about our positioning here? So we kind of even if we kind of look at here-ish, what was it? Right around here. This is a hold, playing in front of the payload.
Yeah. Keep it paused because this is good.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, this is exactly what we should avoid because you're just right in the middle of just the streets. And any angle that the enemy takes right now, if it's a high ground, if it's like when the enemy Zen is, I think it's a Zen.
Yeah, this right here is a Zen right here.
Yeah. The Zarya, even if somebody's near the mega health pack nearby, they can all see you, they can all shoot you.
Okay.
So you just never want to be in this situation. And again, if you played further back, like when there's the big door that the payload comes through, if you're near that door, you can still apply pressure to what matters right now, which is killing the enemy tanks and just putting pressure on them, helping with the harmony, because you still see everybody on your team, but you limit the enemy angles dramatically.
Right. I've always said
pretty much
in terms of positioning, I've said, and correct me if I'm wrong, 2 important things for Zen are cover and vision, and being able to see as much of your team and as much of the enemy team as possible.
Yeah, I mean, I would say there are 4 positional rules.
Okay.
And the first one is always be near solid cover. Because don't always trust your shield. You have a rain and everything, and it's fine, but he can drop a shield for a second to preserve it, and during that time Widow will just snipe you.
Yes. Definitely, it's never happened to me before.
Yeah, just don't trust the shield too much. Always trust the solid cover. The second thing is have as possibly as many angles as possible. And the third one is be near a health pack. Yes. Whether it's a mini or mega, it doesn't really matter.
Okay.
I mean, usually minis are just more convenient. They are placed in a more convenient way. Usually megas are just kind of out of the way.
Right. So to play near a mega, you'd have to be in a bad position almost.
Let's take Hollywood. Like the mega for the defenders is you have to kind of leave the fight and go behind the dumpster and stuff and go to the little room with the mega, whereas the mini is just in a cafe.
Yeah.
And the first one is, I guess, the weakest of them all of the rules, but it's still pretty, important, is just presumably always have an escape route.
Now, what would you define as escape route?
Let's say just a diva bomb comes in, and you just want to have a place in which you can just safely retreat to. And safe place means obviously a lot of cover. But you always want to, even if somebody's just start putting pressure on you, like let's say Hanzo is using Stormbow and just kind of zones you out, and then somebody pressures you, let's say a Tracer on Genji comes after you, you want to escape that position. It's compromised now. They know you're here, and you can't stay in one spot. So
when you say safe route, you're meaning that when you retreat, when you pull back, it is away from where the enemy team is pushing through. So whether that's towards your spawn, basically. Whether that's back, just away from where they are trying to push you. So you give them space of sorts.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
The Ryan's discorded.
Okay, I like the Discord call. But I think right now, actually, it's more valuable to Discord Zarya. She's the threat. She has the Graviton.
So
Okay.
tough trance in terms of like, you know, we were already up 2, but it does look like this would have had enough damage to actually kill. So I think trance was necessary. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, it's hypothetically maybe they could have survived it, but you know you don't want to take that chance.
Right, especially with the Rhine there swinging. So, okay.
And it's fine. They use the Graviton. You trade it for with trance. It's fine.
Right. And especially in lower tiers with this Kai's aim, it's probably likely that as long as the Zarya dies fast, well, I don't know now, but I was probably likely that he'll farm up trance before she builds up Grav. Most likely.
Yeah, but you know, she was pretty high charged right now, so she farmed quite probably a lot of Grav.
That's true.
Okay, oh, you like this? This is a nice, like, just cheeky right clicks. You don't really expose yourself too much. And there you go. Even Zenyatta started shooting, but you have immediate cover and a health pack.
I'm especially loving this call right here. Listen to the Sombra. Fan the hammer, man. That is the most triggering thing in this game.
It's an ability like any other.
Yes.
It triggers me as well, but I always remind myself it's just an ability like any other.
Yes. Like Shield Bash and
yes.
Concussive Mind.
There are worse abilities.
Okay, that is interesting. Listen to what was used on the enemy team here.
Oh.
So,
well, that's a win.
That's excellent. Alright, so I guess we should talk about Escape Rod here. He was in a position with cover. He had a health back. He had full vision of the entire enemy team, even on the McCree funky flank. And he survives because he has an Escape Rod. So,
yeah, and exactly. Your team dies, and you just easily walk away from it. This was a very, very good position to be in.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, so what I would just kind of also implement as a player is say what ultimates were used.
Okay.
Because, you know, some people died, and they may not have seen what was used. They may not know that Zen used his ultimate.
Right, so you would go, hey, ult use there, ult use there.
Yeah, McCree ulted, Ara ulted, then switch.
Yes.
Zen ulted.
They're far
and you know,
ulted. I think they just switched to I don't know what happened here. I must have.
Me neither.
I don't know, like, because I know this was I think they switched back to the Winston. I think is what happened, or they switched to that Winston. So anyway, okay. So just kind of calling out, letting your team be aware. And even in this, if this tier, if they can't take advantage of it, at least it will be good practice in higher tiers when that information will be followed through. Okay, what do you think about this? So 1v1ing the McCree here is obviously fine, but what in terms of movement progression? What are we doing? What do you think about his movement progression here?
If he rolls forward, he has a free flashbang.
Okay. So that was just basically he won that because of accuracy, not because of tactical decision making.
Not at all. If this was a better McCree, you just at this range, McCree has full damage. You don't really want to duel McCree at this range.
Right. So
I mean, at this level, it's acceptable because you know people are gonna kind of struggle with aiming. But again, the further you're gonna go, it's just gonna get really tough. And stuff like this, like at this very moment, you already are around like 130, maybe 80 HP.
Right.
Because he either shot a headshot or a body shot.
Right.
And pushing like this, you had a very nice cover in the rock thingy.
Yes, it was right, the moon rock or whatever, right here.
Yeah, and there you go. He has nowhere to go. As a McCree, you can see him. Like he can either just kind of try to roll back to his team or whatever, but you can just stay near the rock.
Okay. And especially
there's just no.
And as for and you'd have support of your team because that's the doubly bad nature. He's moving towards their enemy Reinhardt and away from his team at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we win.
So ill-advised. I mean, he won the fight, but you don't really want to do that.
Right. You want to win every fight that you can because you made a smart decision, not just because your mechanics carried. That was a nice EMP bomb combo. So in terms of cleanup, is it okay to push aggressively like he is there?
If you want to build your trans, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
That was nice. I guess this sort of positioning.
Yeah, but you know what? I don't mind it because even with Winston and his damage, look at the ultimate charge right after the McCree kill.
Right.
It's at 84. So even when the Winston jumps, you can easily farm the trans.
Right.
So you can stay here actually because there's just no danger.
Right, and in this cleanup stage, it's going to be 1v1 after the other, which you can win when you have your team support. If there was the Ryan and the McCree and the Winston there, I would probably say this would be a bad position. But as you said, if it's one after another,
and you have a mercy pocket on you, and they just come in one by one. You have trans to kill. There you go. Rain starts swinging trans because it just gets too dangerous.
Right. So would you say in this situation here, if you're caught in one of these awkward reload things, which will be going away thankfully soon. I'm not sure if you've read PTR patch notes.
Yes, I know.
So your whole team is shooting the Lucio. Would you prioritize putting Discord before reloading here?
Yeah, why not? Always.
I would probably say, I mean, you've got so many people shooting at the target. I mean, he doesn't even get a chance to shoot before. So, okay. All right, anything so I always try and give a big, summation at the end. If you could say two, at most three things that this player could write on his, either literal post-it notes or just be thinking about, what would you say he would need to improve on, whether it was positioning, his ult usage, ult tracking, his jumping, Discord harmony? What would you say? You just kind of...
All right, a couple of things actually, and the first one is harmony. I mean, in general, orb management. There were a lot of dry spells. Nothing was going on. Nobody was orbed, neither discords nor harmonies.
So that uptime then, at all times.
Yeah, just trying to have orbs for as long as possible on people. Obviously positioning. Positioning is always a theme. Even if I look at my own gameplay, I'm okay, I should have been here, I should have been there. Everybody can always work on positioning.
Okay.
And that just basically means what I see here is, let's start with the most basic thing, which is just try to always stay near solid cover.
Okay. Perfect.
But the third thing, and the most important thing, is just not playing your role. And this is a big offender, in my opinion. Because this game is being won right now because these are just better players. You're just more skilled than the enemy team. And the point is, what I always say is the better team doesn't always win the game. But just because you're more skilled than the enemy doesn't mean you're gonna win. Maybe they're gonna play smarter. Playing smarter always beats being slightly more skilled. So, here we saw so many just reckless charges into the enemy to frag out, forgetting about killing people because we were shooting, kind of playing in a spots that are more DPS-like. You would expect a DPS hero to be in this spot and not a support. So I think this is, I've done some reviews in the past, and I sometimes see it, just support players, Zenyatta players that just play like a DPS. And I know
Lucio
it's exciting.
does that too. So many Lucio players are guilty of that.
And I know it's fun, especially when you get a triple kill like here in the end. He killed 3 people. It's nice, it's flashy, it makes you feel good. But again, if this is a better team, you're not winning this game because you're not playing your role. And your team is not really supported by the Zen because he just doesn't use his ability.
So it's almost as if this number 3rd one that you said was the most important is part of the reason why his positioning and part of the reason why his orb management is poor is because he's putting priorities on things that aren't as important. Okay, well that was excellent, Scruty. I really appreciate it.
Okay, but also I wanna. I don't want to be change your play style, and start playing in the back and be very safe and just harmony people all the time, don't even shoot. No. I very much appreciate Zenyatas that are aggressive, but you have to be smart about being aggressive because you can do the same stuff, when it comes to the damage, the frags, You can do all this while being safe and while helping your team in the meantime.
Right. So try and establish your orb management. Try and establish your positioning, but then frag out.
Yeah, exactly.
Just make sure when you're fragging, you're near a corner and you've got both orbs up. So, anyway, Scruty, we really appreciate the review. It's nice to have someone who's actually followed these steps up to such a high level.